The movie begins by showing an advertisement that contains a children's toy to accompany them to replace pets. This furry owl-like toy called Pets that can talk, take pictures, and can even be fed through a tablet.
Options. What will you and your pet do next?
Then the scene changes and shows a small family consisting of father, mother, and daughter named Keddy. They plan to go on vacation to ski, but Keddy prefers to play his doll rather than go on vacation. The pet's doll that Keddy has is a gift from his aunt. On the way, their car slipped a little, and finally they decided to stop and wait for the snow truck to clear the road. But without realizing it, suddenly their car was hit by the snow truck. Then the scene changed to a company where the toys played by Keddy were made. The company was called Funky Corporation. At that time, a smart scientist named Gemma was bored with the toys in this company, whose models were boring, so she created a new robot device called Megan. Gemma and her two friends named Tess and Cole made Megan secretly without the knowledge of her boss. While they were testing the dolls, it wasn't long before their boss arrived. His name was David. David forced Gemma to make another new toy, but on the other hand, David didn't know that Gemma and her team were secretly making a robot doll using equipment in the company, and of course, this robot was illegal. David, who looked angry, then told Gemma to get rid of Megan's robot. Gemma tried to explain to David, but he hadn't finished explaining. David interrupted her conversation by saying that their competitors had copied their toy products and sold them at a much cheaper price. Gemma also responded to David's words by showing Megan's abilities.
This isn't supposed to happen, obviously.
When showing Megan's abilities, it turned out that Cole forgot to install an important component that made Megan suddenly explode. Of course, it made David even more angry. Then David gave Gemma 1 week to give her a new toy prototype. When Gemma was tidying up her things, she got a call from the hospital about the accident experienced by her brother. Arriving at the hospital, we finally find out that Gemma is Keddy's aunt, who turns out that Keddy still survived the accident the other day, so Gemma has to take care of Keddy for now, because she has never had children. Of course, this situation is very difficult for Gemma, and she must immediately establish a good relationship with Keddy.
Mom always read me a story before bed.
I don't think I really have any kids' books here right now, Katie.
The next day, Gemma called her friend and told her about her condition that had to take care of Keddy. On the other hand, she was also worried about her work to make a new stuffed toy, considering that the deadline given by her boss was too tight. But her friend convinced Gemma that she should take care of her nephew first. Not long after, a psychiatrist came to see Keddy's condition. The psychiatrist's arrival was only in Keddy's activities at home, and when he observed them, it turned out to be true that the relationship between Gemma and Keddy did not seem to get along. The psychiatrist suggested that Gemma improve her relationship with Keddy first if she wanted to be able to take care of Keddy calmly. When they were at home, Gemma tried to explain to Keddy that she actually had an important job and was almost late. Gemma gave her iPad to Keddy so that he would not be bored while waiting for Gemma, who was working. Long story short, when Gemma was focusing on her work, not long afterwards, Keddy came to Gemma. At that time, Gemma apologized because she did not have time to accompany him. Then Keddy saw a robot owned by Gemma called Bruce. The robot could be moved using a controller. Gemma explained that she made this robot when she was in college, and this Bruce robot was a failed product. Gemma showed the capabilities of the robot.
Hey, Katie, what's up?
And then Gemma immediately explained the weakness of this robot, which is that the materials to make it are very expensive. Keddy said that if he had a toy like Bruce, then he didn't need another toy. Hearing Keddy's words made Gemma get the idea to immediately return to finishing Megan's robot project and perfect it with her two friends. David looked very angry because his toy doll was still unfinished. At that time, Gemma and her friend showed David their robot creation, Megan, who can talk and act like a human. Keddy became very happy because he got a new friend.
I love it.
David, who was initially angry and hesitant when he saw Megan, instead became amazed and saw a great opportunity because it was certain that Megan's robot would make a lot of money for his company. David also had plans to mass-produce Megan's robot and would sell this robot as soon as possible. And the most important thing was that Megan's robot was very difficult to imitate by their competitors because it is equipped with a variety of very high-quality materials. Megan will later be sold for $1,000. Long story short, Megan was brought home to Gemma's house in the hope that she could relieve the trauma of Keddy, who had lost her parents. Not only became a friend, Megan could also be a guardian of children. And slowly, because of her artificial intelligence, Megan could learn various new things that she saw. When Gemma and her friends were checking up on Megan, Tess had suggested to Gemma that she should be the one looking after Keddy and not a robot. But here, Gemma didn't want to lose the opportunity to develop Megan because she designed Megan to be able to develop according to her environment. That's the reason why Megan should always be close to Keddy. But Megan, who was supposed to be in a dead condition, suddenly she interrupted their conversation, which made the three of them surprised, seeing that Gemma immediately turned it off again. The next day, Megan was seen continuing to analyze the look on Keddy's face, whether he was sad or happy. When Keddy was playing accidentally, Keddy lost his arrow. Then he asked Megan to find it so that with his vision, Megan could find the arrow. But when he was about to take the arrow, suddenly the neighbor's dog attacked Megan. Then Keddy tried to help Megan, but unfortunately he was bitten by the dog. Not long after, Gemma came to help Keddy. Fortunately, Keddy only suffered minor injuries. At night, when Keddy was asleep, Megan, who should be in a dead position, was still on. Megan began to analyze Keddy's condition. Then, unexpectedly, Megan went to the dog. She lured him out and did something insane. In the morning, Gemma woke up because of the screams of her neighbors who were looking for her dog who had disappeared. Then Gemma went to Keddy's room. Gemma asked about Keddy's condition, and Gemma reminded Keddy that today there would be a presentation at the company. But if Keddy didn't want to come, she wouldn't force him, and Keddy replied that he wanted to go there. And then the scene changed to show David, who was making a presentation in front of his company's investors. David explained to the investors that Megan's robot could change the world and would certainly be profitable for this company, and he began to present Megan's robot. When the demonstration began, everything did not go according to plan. Keddy was suddenly sad because he remembered his parents who had passed away. But Megan used her intelligence. She tried to entertain Keddy by telling Keddy to share her memories with her parents.
One time she found a cockroach in my school bag. This thing crawls up her wrist and she
Tell me something special about your parents. Something.
The investors were carried away and became sad.
You alone, or that your world has.
Long story short, with Megan's extraordinary abilities, the investors will fully support Megan's project. Then we are shown with Kurt, David's assistant, who is copying Megan's data. But a moment later, David came and Kurt immediately closed his laptop. Then the scene changes to show Gemma and Keddy sitting in the park. Here, Gemma looks annoyed because Keddy is too focused on Megan. Then the scene changes again to see a psychiatrist conducting a therapy session, but the psychiatrist accidentally makes Keddy cry. And when the psychiatrist wants to take a tissue, he is surprised because Megan is behind him. He feels afraid of Megan's presence, who suddenly appears. Then, after the therapy session is over, the psychiatrist explains the results of his therapy to Gemma, and he says that Gemma should replace a parent figure for Keddy and not a robot. Gemma could only be silent hearing the explanation. When Gemma and Keddy were at home, Gemma began to plan to put Keddy in a school. But here Keddy refused, because according to Keddy, learning with Megan was more effective. Gemma said that this was not just about lessons, but about how Keddy could later socialize with children his age.
Can I bring Megan?
Katie, no, that's not nice. Let's just talk about it. Hey. Katie, calm down.
Let her go.
The next day, Gemma took Keddy to an alternative school in an open room, as they had discussed before. But Keddy did not want to go if Megan did not come, so Gemma was forced to allow Megan to come with her, but Megan could only sit in the doll's place.
I'm gonna put you into pairs. Felix, you go. No, that's okay.
Not long after a naughty boy in the school who began to bother Keddy,
Ow, stop, no!
suddenly Megan was already there.
Does she talk?
Innocently, this naughty boy even took Megan away. Then he told Megan to make a sound, but Megan did not want to obey him and remained silent, because the desire to protect Keddy was so great. Megan's psychopathic soul began to emerge. Megan then punished the child by pulling his ear off, and she chased him blindly. The frightened brat immediately ran until he slipped. On the other hand, Gemma calmed Keddy from the terrible incident, and Keddy said that the incident was not his fault. Then the police came to Gemma's house and began to ask Gemma some questions.
I see anything.
At night, Megan said to Keddy, if they learned a lesson today, that in this world there must be someone who always wants to hurt us. And from now on, Megan promised to continue to look after Keddy and would not let Keddy get hurt again. After Keddy fell asleep that night, the neighbor was still busy looking for his lost dog. Then he heard something from his shed, so he went to check it out. Arriving at the shed, it was not his dog that he found, but Megan, who came to kill the neighbor. The next day, Gemma was surprised because her neighbor was found lifeless. It made the police suspicious of Gemma because, coincidentally, Gemma was close to the two locations of the deaths that had just occurred. And on the day, Gemma also began to suspect Megan. Then she tried to access the history file on Megan's body to see what activities Megan did that day. And when opening the video file, suddenly all the files crashed and could not be seen. After that, Gemma was surprised because Megan was in front of her. Gemma tried to turn Megan off, but couldn't. At this moment, we know that Megan has her own consciousness like a human. Then with a trick, Gemma finally managed to turn Megan off. The next day, Gemma brought Megan to the company for checking. And of course, it made Keddy very angry because Gemma suddenly took Megan from herself. Arriving at the company, they suspected that something was wrong with Megan because they did not program Megan to hurt someone. But Cole did not believe that Megan had killed someone. At At the same time, news about the release of Megan's robot had spread everywhere, and various children around the world were waiting for Megan's robot. On the other hand, Keddy continued to go crazy because he wanted to meet Megan. Then Gemma entered and tried to calm him down, but unconsciously, Keddy slapped Gemma. Keddy, who felt guilty, finally apologized. After that, he begged that he was immediately reunited with Megan because Megan was the only friend who could understand him. But Gemma said that there was something wrong with Megan and Gemma had to fix it first. Gemma immediately got into the car to take Keddy home. But before leaving, she contacted Tess first to tell her that she wanted to take Keddy home. Tess hadn't realized that her cell phone had been sabotaged by Megan, and it turned out that the one talking to Gemma from earlier was not Tess, but Megan, who had sabotaged Tess's cell phone earlier. When Tess and Cole were checking Megan's data, they saw that there was odd data, and a moment later, Tess's computer suddenly shut down. Tess guessed that this must be Megan's doing. Then she asked Cole to unplug Megan so that she was no longer connected to the server. When Cole approached Megan, Megan suddenly turned on and immediately attacked Cole. But fortunately, Tess was able to cut the rope. After that, Megan walked out to go see Keddy. On the other hand, David, who was trying to contact Gemma, he met Megan. Suddenly, Megan took the sword that was on the table. Then she chased David, until finally David asked Kurt to hold the elevator door. But unfortunately, right before David could get in there, Megan stabbed him from behind, and finally David was killed. Not only that, Megan also saw Kurt, and Megan apparently also knew that David's assistant had stolen confidential data from Megan's robot and planned to sell the data to a competing company for a large profit. So Megan also killed him. Long story short, Megan sabotaged the car there and went to Keddy's house to meet him. On the other hand, Gemma, who had calmed down to see Keddy sleeping, suddenly she heard a sound from outside the house and she went to check it out. And it turned out that Megan was already there. And now, Megan was completely without control from Gemma. Gemma said she wanted Megan to stop doing all this, but Megan replied that she just wanted to maximize her goal of protecting and caring for Keddy. Not long after Keddy woke up, but here Megan threatened to kill Gemma if Keddy came near them. As soon as Keddy left, there was a fight between Gemma and Megan. Gemma was cornered because the robot's strength was too great.
Vulnerable.
Not long after, Keddy came there and saw what happened. Megan also tried to convince Keddy that she no longer needed Gemma, and Megan would always take care of Keddy. But without Megan realizing it, it turned out that Keddy had used a controller. Keddy controlled Bruce's robot to fight Megan, and the fight was inevitable. Finally, Keddy managed to split Megan's body, but Megan was not dead and returned to attack Keddy. Fortunately, Gemma managed to hit Megan's head, and with the help of Keddy, they finally managed to destroy the chipset in Megan's body that made her die immediately. Then the police arrived too late when everything had happened and the movie was over. The purpose of making Megan is actually very noble, to take care of and be a friend to children. But here Gemma missed too many details from Megan, and Megan instead turned into a ferocious psychopathic robot figure. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next storyline.